Good morning, good morning, good morning. How you doing, guys? Dr. EG3. Man, I'm just real distracted this morning. Kind of had one of those days. Got a big event today. Not quite. Man, I guess I hate to say it this way, but not really want to go to work. But it is what it is. Got to pay the bills, right? But what if I was to tell you guys that I know exactly where your frustration lies? I know what causes you the most angst and what goes on in your life. But anyway, before I get to that, I want to tell you guys about a story about myself. I found myself just pretty frustrated and upset. Was going back and forth via email with a coworker about literally how we had to put on this event, and it seemed to be a level of miscommunication and misunderstanding, and how it's very difficult to really get what you got to say out via email, because you send an email with your thoughts, then several hours later they send their response back, and then you send your response back, but you're kind of like distracted and doing other things. But anyway, so what I found in that instance is that I discovered where frustration lies. And I'm gonna share with you. I'm pretty sure we all have situations where we find ourselves frustrated, burdened, upset with the way things are going, especially when they're not, what we and how we expect them to be, right? So, have you ever experienced that? A situation where, you had an idea of the way things would go, but then obviously it turned out something different? So I figured out through my own experience exactly where frustration lies. And where frustration lies, or where frustration lives, is in the distance between your ideals and expectation and your ultimate reality. So let me say that again. So where frustration lives is in the distance between your ideals and your expectations and your reality. So basically what I think about it is that I think about that in two main places of, not just for myself, but I often hear people talk about it, right? So I often hear, people say, man, I remember when I was 18, I used to be able to do this. Or when I was 18, this is how I looked. You know what I mean? So again, the ideal and expectation of what a person thinks they may physically look like, the way they think they should look when they were 18, 19, 20, is not really close to the reality of where they may be today, right? It could be a lot of different reasons, right? So that distance between that ideal and current reality is could be pretty wide, and in that space is where your frustration lives, because you're ultimately comparing yourself to that instance, right? Really it's not fair to who you are now. When you're 18, you probably didn't have any responsibilities, didn't have any kids, didn't have a full-time job, right? So to sit here and just compare what you should be doing now versus then. So even if you want to work out, you don't have the same level of responsibilities when you're 18, so it's kind of unfair, right? Another instance that I hear people get very frustrated, right, where their ideal and their expectations don't match up with their current reality, is when they think about their boss, right? Because when you think about a boss, right, you either do one of two things. You think about the best boss that you ever had, right? They were communicating, they were open to ideas. You either the best boss you had, or your picture and idea of what a good boss is, right? So the reason why that causes frustration is because it's not reality to who your current boss is. It's not fair to them. Maybe they haven't developed to be a great boss yet, but they're in a position of authority and they're trying to figure it out. Well, they're just a jerk, right? But again, it doesn't allow you, right? Because it's not about the person, it's not about your boss, it's really about you. So it's what you're interpreting and what you're thinking. And if you can't properly take your boss for like who they currently are, they may not be a good communicator. They may be kind of conniving. They may not always take, the team's thoughts into play. They may not have the best methods on how to take care of stuff, or they may not be open to ideas from the team, but it's up to you to figure out how do you navigate that, right? Because employment is a choice, and who you work for is a choice as well. Or you got to just put it in priority that, hey, I got to tolerate and to deal with this person because I need my bills paid, which is good. But again, if you're constantly comparing your current boss to an ideal or someone else, it's not fair to your current boss. But more importantly, it's not fair to you, because you haven't really figured out how to do it. how to engage with them in a way that's effective, not necessarily for the relationship, but for you to be successful or whatever, right? So I hear a lot of people probably thinking right now, well, Emmanuel, you know, Dr. George, what I hear you saying is we should not have ideals or expectations. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I think we should always be moving towards an ideal. I think we should always be working towards goals that are about self-improvement and getting better. So no, I'm not suggesting that we should not have them. I think that we should have a better understanding of where frustration lies and what are we really expecting of ourselves. Because again, if you know, go back to the example about weight loss. So if your goal is to be your 18-year-old self, number one, it doesn't honor who you are today, but it may mean you may find yourself having to do significantly more work than to get to that ideal expectation that you have. I actually, for myself, I try to base all of my goals and my expectations in my current reality. So just thinking to myself, you know, I'm about 30 pounds heavier than I was when I was in high school. Could I do it? Could I make it happen? Yeah, but I got a beautiful wife and two beautiful daughters, so it's gonna be very hard for me to get in the gym like I was before, you know what I mean? I don't eat a whole lot of meat, but I got girls at the house who like to eat a lot of meat. So even if I wanted to go vegan or vegetarian, my girls ain't gonna have it. Eating and them, they always like, hey, Dad, where's the chicken? Where's the meat? You know, every so often Crystal's like, hey man, where's the beef? You know what I mean? We need some steaks on the grill. You know what I mean? So again, it's just sometimes hard to do that. So I just encourage you guys to maybe sit here and think of it this way. We're all living in a world through the experience of our thoughts. So again, I know that's a very weird concept because I know things happen in life. I know things happen through what we experience just on a day-to-day, but it's really how we think about them determines how we move forward. You know, I also think about, you know, you never notice how, like, if you focus on something, it seems to get bigger, right? It seems to be more intense. So really, it's about the volumes of thought that you have about a topic determines whether it's small or big, right? The more you focus on something, the more you obsess, the more you think about it, the more you're trying to figure it out, it seems to be more and more complex, right? Whereas, you know, I need to think of something simple. I need to tie my shoe. So what do? You don't think much about it. You just tie your shoe. Very simple, right? But again, I can see how that could be frustrating if you didn't know how to tie your shoe. But anyway, all right, guys. So again, just wanted to kind of highlight that for you. Hopefully that helps. So, you know, just if you can understand where your frustration comes from, you know how to deal with it. But how can we try to close the gap between our ideals and expectations with our reality? And here's something to consider. Both of those can move. You can change your reality or you can change your expectations. So I'm not suggesting you lower expectations. Sometimes we just maybe need to change our reality. So, all right, guys, talk to you later. Love you.